What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the stock option recap for March 2nd, 2021. The Dow Jones is down 0.46%, the Nasdaq's down 1.69%, the S&P is down 0.81%. Now, before we get in the video, make sure you hit that like button. Also, hit that subscribe and notification bell so you can be notified when we go live. We're live, market open to market close, Monday through Friday, so you'll definitely want to hit that notification bell, and you will be notified the second we go live and also when we post videos. Now, the first stock I want to talk about today is RKT. RKT is absolutely insane right now. A lot of people are saying this is a Wall Street bet short squeeze, but I really disagree with that. They do have the special dividend coming up, and they also had extremely good earnings last week, so maybe the Wall Street bet hype is helping. Judging by the volume, I don't think this is just your average move off of a special dividend, so maybe Wall Street bets has some sort of effect here, but it also could be because rates are rising and the mortgage companies were lagging behind the rates rising, so that could also be a possibility. There's definitely a few things that could be going on with these mortgage companies because UWMC is also popping pretty crazy, but you could have made some crazy moves on these RKT options. So looking at the options now, there's not even a chance you could have got a cheap option play on there unless you played a debit spread. Even these March 19th $50 calls were up about $1 earlier in the morning before the huge RKT pop. And of course, a lot of these options are up a few thousand%, so they went crazy, but there really weren't any cheap options on here unless you played debit spread. So it's kind of interesting there. That kind of gives me the idea that the option market was expecting a move like this, because I feel like we should be able to find some cheaper options, especially on the weekly. These 36 are the last contracts on the chain, and these were still $1 in the morning. About 3 days ago, you could have got them for a little bit cheaper, but it's still really interesting how expensive these options were. So if we still see this move continue, we may want to play a debit spread on the call side, but I'm not really expecting this move to continue because that is just such a crazy move on RKT, and maybe we could play something on the put side, but we will just have to be patient and see what happens with that. So keep your eyes on this and UWMC. You could also do UWMC as a sympathy play, so keep your eyes on there. There were some decently cheap options on here. You could have got these $10 calls in the morning for about $25, and they're up a little over 200%, so not like the craziest move on there. But if these mortgage companies continue to rise, you may want to look for a play more on UWMC than RKT. But like I said, you could also just play debit spreads, and those would be really good on RKT. So keep an eye on those. They're going to be really interesting, especially if they keep ripping. One of the craziest stocks to play options on today was Target. You could have got these 200 calls for extremely cheap in the morning, about $20, and they shot up a little over 400% at the starting of the day. And then Target just started to sell off, so you could have also did something on the put side. You could have got these 170 puts for really cheap in the morning, about $10, maybe even cheaper, and they shot up a little over 150, so you could have made a lot on the put side, more than the call side. I didn't even really notice the put side until now. I just had Target written down for the earnings continuation on the call side, so the puts were even crazier than the calls. So you might want to keep your eye on Target. We may see some upside on there because they had extremely good earnings, but they just sold off a lot today, so you may want to keep your eye on that for another play on the call side. I don't know if you're going to be able to play puts. All the puts are really expensive, but if we start to see some momentum towards the upside on Target, you'll definitely want to be looking out for some calls on there because they should be super sensitive from the earnings. You just got to be careful because these are weeklies. Maybe look for some more time on there, but your best percentage gains are going to be from the weeklies as always. The stock that had a really weird move today was Canadian Goose. They had some news that they were partnering with the NBA or something like that, and these $50 calls went actually insane after that news hit. You could have got these for about $18, $20 before the news, and then as soon as the news hit, these shot up a little over 400%, and they even climbed a little bit more, but it didn't last. Canadian Goose ended up just falling off more towards the end of the day. All you could have done really is play off of that news play, but still I like showing this off because it just goes to show that there's just so much opportunity in the market. You got news plays, you got earnings, you got short squeezes, you got everything, man. You can do so much in the stock market, so there's no point in really just chasing one thing. If the opportunity comes into your favor and you happen to hit it, that's beautiful, but it just goes to show that you really don't need to chase anything because there's opportunity every single day. You just got to be set up for it or know when to take advantage when it happens. So I'm not really going to be watching Canadian Goose. I just wanted to throw this one on the recap as like another type of play you could have done. You know, news is also an event in the market. Another pretty crazy stock today was GM. A lot of the longer term options went pretty crazy today, but I was pretty impressed with the $54 calls here in the morning. You could have got these for about $30, and you could have even got like the 54.5s for a little bit cheaper, or the 55s. All of them went pretty crazy today, but these 54 contracts went up a little over 600%. So pretty crazy move on that. I really liked this one. I'm going to be keeping an eye on GM for a potential play, but I think the premiums are up way too much. Even the April 16th I was looking at are up a little over 100%. So maybe we'll be able to scoop something like that on the longer term options, but I'm just going to be keeping my eye on there. I don't want to pay too much premium, but I really like GM right now. And our final stock for the call side is Weight Watchers, or WW. It's not called Weight Watchers anymore, but this stock had an extremely impressive day. You could have got these $35 calls for about $15 in the morning, and they went a little over 800%. So pretty crazy moves there on WW. The stock's really not a big mover, so the fact that the options went up that much is really, really impressive. I really liked this move on here. I wanted to pick up some Weight Watchers for the long term, but it's a little late now. They're going pretty insane. Keep an eye on them. Maybe we'll want to pick some up for the long term if they come back down to these 20 levels, but I don't think you're going to be able to play any options or anything on there because there's barely any open interest, so it's going to be really hard to get a play even on the put side if you wanted to play the downside. All the spreads are going to be extremely wide, so just be careful on there, but I would really like to pick this up for the long term if we see it below 20 or around 20. Now let's get on to the put side. You could have made some pretty decent money on puts as well. I didn't write down all of the put plays, but you might want to keep an eye on your bigger name tech stocks because a lot of those fell off more towards the end of the day. So might be potential plays on there. Just keep an eye out for those. But the couple I actually paid attention to was NVAX. You could have got these NVAX 170 puts for about $30 in the morning, and they went up a little over 150. The spreads are super wide on NVAX, so it would be hard to sell the play if you wanted it, and it might even be hard to get in the play depending how wide the spreads are. You won't even know what you're paying for, but I like NVAX because this stock moves a lot. It has a really small share float, so it can move a lot when it starts to get this momentum, but I don't think we're going to be able to play anything on the put side here because everything's already up a lot. But I really like NVAX in general just because of how much it moves, so if you're able to scoop up some opportunity there on the put side, it might be really good, but at the same time, you just got to be careful with NVAX because it's had a lot of positive news recently. Another stock that was really surprising on the downside was Zoom. They had extremely good earnings, and I was expecting a bounce for the earnings continuation, but they pretty much sold off all day. You could have got these 340 puts for about $20-$30 earlier in the morning, and they just started to gain a lot of value more towards the end of the day. They're up about 1,000%, so that's a really insane move. Zoom sold off a lot today, so I might want to be on the lookout for this on the upside if we start to get more momentum on your bigger name tech stocks. This might be really good because their earnings was actually really good. I'm not really sure why it sold off as much as it did, so I'm going to be keeping an eye on this for the call side, but all the options are really expensive on Zoom, so I'm just going to be really patient on there because I don't want to overpay on a weekly play for Zoom, even though it has potential to move a lot. This down move here after they had really good earnings just kind of shows me the investor confidence that Zoom is providing, and it's very small. It doesn't look like people are really that into Zoom anymore, so might want to keep an eye on this. If it has a bounce, maybe you could get some puts on there, but I would like to play it on the call side if anything. Another pretty decent stock today was Facebook. The options really aren't up that much, but they had some news more towards the end of the day that the COVID vaccines and everything reopening may affect their company. The CFO said that, so I'm kind of interested to see where Facebook goes from here. But you could have got these 250 puts before that news even dropped, and they're up a little over 200%, so not a super crazy move on the put. Like I said, the options didn't really move that much, so there might be some potential on Facebook for a put play, but I would just be careful on that. Facebook option contracts really haven't been moving. I would just be careful on any plays on there. But the fact that the options aren't moving while the stock is dropping quite a bit, it might leave an opportunity open to get into a play before it starts to drop a lot. So keep your eyes on Facebook and the bigger name tech stocks. Like I said, if we continue to sell off, Facebook might be really, really good. Our final put option we're going to talk about today is Beyond. Beyond had news today that they were going to be selling their products inside of Costco stores, but I later found out that that news was actually pretty old. I think it was either from yesterday or a couple weeks ago. I'm not entirely sure, but it wasn't a news drop from today. Just it happened to be dropped today, and the stock reacted a little bit, but Beyond sold off pretty huge today. So that's kind of what makes me think that that news was old. And also, I looked into the SEC filing where everyone says that news came from, and their SEC filing was from yesterday. So I just think that news is old. The stock just happened to react a little bit from it today because someone shouted it out. But you could have did decent on the puts today. I was actually looking at these 131s earlier in the morning, and they were a little under $30. It shows that they were at 35 before the pop, but they were a lot cheaper. There's just no open interest in total volume, so there's not that much history on the day, but you could have got these for pretty damn cheap in the morning, and they're up a little over 200-300%, so pretty crazy move there on Beyond. I'm going to be on the lookout for a bounce play on Beyond for the calls, but if Beyond continues to sell off, maybe a put play will be good. You just got to find something that doesn't have too much premium, because Beyond's pretty volatile, so puts might actually be very good, but it's just going to depend if Beyond continues downward. They also had earnings last week, I'm pretty sure, and their earnings really weren't that good, so you could see more downside on Beyond. I just don't think you should be chasing that because the options are already up quite a bit, but I'm going to be keeping my eye on Beyond, mostly just on the bigger name tech stocks and also the bond yields. Those are going to be the main drivers of the market in my opinion. Maybe RKT could have some effect if it starts to go extremely crazy like GameStop did. Could ruin some investor confidence and you could start to see a lot more downside, but I'm not really expecting too much downside. I'm not really expecting RKT to continue, but we will have to see what tomorrow brings. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to hit that like button. Also hit that subscribe and notification bell so you can be notified when we go live. We're live market open to market close Monday through Friday, so you'll definitely want to hit that notification bell and you will be notified the second we go live and also when we post videos. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.